is my worst case scenario that I think is likely to happen, and that is a currency collapse. Because I've talked to people for 20 years saying you can't keep printing the money and running up debt like this. At some point it breaks. I don't know when. And everybody says the same thing to me. Glenn, the dollar is the strongest in the world. And I keep saying to them, you're assuming no one will come up with a better idea. And we're seeing China do it. We're seeing Russia do it. We're seeing Bitcoin do it. Right now, the government is shutting the doors on cryptocurrency like crazy for a reason. Right?
Of course they are.
Yes.
I can't believe they let it get to where it did get, if it's cutting into their game. But what you mentioned, the currency crisis, I've had this argument so many times. People are like, well, the dollar's strong. The dollar's not strong. The dollar's strong if you measure it against the euro, the pound, the yen. Because
and those are all crap. We're the floatiest piece of poop in the toilet bowl.
Skinniest kid of that camp.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Because if you start to measure it against real things like loaf of bread and chicken wings, we know that the dollar's weak. And once they reverse course, which we just seen the Bank of England reverse course on their supposed, being strong, being hawkish to support their currency. As soon as we see that happen too, we could have a problem. And that's the worst, a hyperinflation scenario. When it happened in Venezuela, just to get it in people's head, the population of rats and feral cats in the city of Caracas went down considerably because they became a food source. When currency collapses, it's a bad thing. The Weimar Republic, Venezuela, I think in Argentina, Venezuela, they have it like every 10 years or something. Right?
Okay, so wait a minute. So a currency collapse. That's likely, I don't know when, but it's likely at some point to happen, isn't it?
Well, okay, in a long enough timeline. You go, yeah.
Yeah, so I would say, so there are probably a couple of different currency collapse. I think that you might have like the euro or some of the global currencies collapse first.
Correct, yeah.
Because they need to pay for energy in dollars.
Right.
So with that balance, we're going to see that first. But at some point in time, given the fact that the government likes to spend, is not going to be austere, is not going to with the payments we have on our interest rate, they're just going to continue to print, and it's going to hit that point of no return, just like it happened with inflation. Remember, there was going to be no inflation until there was some. The same thing eventually is going to happen with the currency, which is why I talked about previously long-term wanting to have those hard assets like physical gold. The challenge is if we don't have a war to reset, which is usually the reset of things, then they're going to try and come up with an interim solution, and that may be where they're pushing this CBDC, central bank digital currency, as some sort of smoke and mirrors fix to this whole thing, which is really scary because it gives them more control of currency. It merges
absolute control.
And social credit can be built in, and then all of a sudden it completely changes the tenor of freedom in America.
I think that the central bank digital currency is one of the biggest concerns I have. And they always joke about never let a good crisis go to waste. Mm-hmm. And what that means, people laugh about it, but it's like let the shroud of chaos, let them take powers that they otherwise couldn't have taken. It's not funny when they laugh about this. And the central bank digital currency, if you don't think they're going to start monitoring how much meat you eat or how much you do with certain different things that they deem as not, or who you donate to, and it happened already. They started freezing bank accounts in Canada for donating to the trucker strike. So we've seen it around the world, how nefarious it can be for any sort of digital currency and the government oversight of spending. It's a terrible thing, and I think people are sleeping on it quite a bit. I don't think they know how bad it is.
How long do you think that has? Well, first of all, do you have Bitcoin now? Is that over? What?
No, I have Bitcoin.
So I don't have Bitcoin. Yeah. We can talk about why or why not.
Well, I didn't even understand it when I started buying it, but I understand that these guys think it's a bet against fiat currencies and the stewardship of money around the world. And I'm like, okay, sign me up for that. Because I do think, and I don't know if it's the answer at all. I'm not one of these lunatic diamond hand hodlers or whatever they are. Sorry to the lunatics out there who are listening, but I have it, and I hope I never need it because I hope our currency doesn't collapse.
Yeah, I'm old school, so I've gone in the physical gold as a counterbalance for the fiat currency.
Where do you keep it? In a safe? At home?
I'm not telling you.
What's your mother's maiden name?
I'm not telling you where we keep it. I bury it with Glenn's title.
But
for my my standpoint, I just think that the control of the government and their desire to keep power, and that they have militaries, and you just said they're cracking down on crypto for a reason. Mm-hmm. The idea that they're going to let this end up working, it's just too much of a leap for me personally. It is an alternative asset.
So why did you say, when you first started talking about it, you said a interim step might be central bank digital currency? Why would that be an interim? Because that seems, if they implement that and everybody's on, there's no way out now.
So I think it comes about in steps. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to bring it about and say, oh, we're not going to do it retail facing. We're going to use it on the back end to settle between banks. You don't have to worry about it, Glenn. You're never going to see it. And that's going to be the first phase of it. And then they're going to say, well, it's going to be a hybrid. We'll use it to settle, but if you want to use it, like they tried to get the Chinese people to use it during the Olympics and nobody wanted it, they'll try to do that, and then eventually it will become sort of this de facto currency. So it's not an all-at-once proposition, most likely, but then again, something like a crisis could happen, and they just may go, well, we have it in development. And they could sell it in very nefarious ways. They could say, we'll give you $2 for every one of your dollars. Doesn't that seem like a good trade? And then everyone takes that, and all of a sudden everybody's money's worth 50%.
Of course it will be.
You turn your money in, you get $5 for every $1 right now in cryptocurrency. And by the way, in 6 months, it'll be $3, and in 6 months from there, it will be nothing.
Right.
So turn it in right now, and people will absolutely do it. And they control you because isn't this the only way out of modern monetary theory, which we're absolutely doing?
Of course
right?
we are.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the only way out, because the whole theory is we can control inflation. Well, if you have a currency that I can say, you're not buying gas today, you're not going to buy any bread, and by the way, no currency will buy any bullets ever again. You control it all.
And if you don't think they will do that, they're out of their mind. And it's always small steps, to your point. Small steps like just 2 weeks to slow the curve. They don't, once they take power, they don't give it back, and that will absolutely happen.
So that's the problem. The way out of modern monetary theory, or magic money tree, is to go back to fiscal responsibility and to get these central planners out of manipulating the money supply. We absolutely have a window to do that. It just won't happen, because that means the people in power have to give up their power. So that's not going to happen. In terms of if they get the BDC, it's not a way out of MMT, because it will eventually collapse the economy.
Oh, yeah.
So,
it doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
One of the key principles of MMT is that when the government sees inflation, then they drag liquidity out of the system. Did they see inflation? Did they see it in tech stocks? Did they see it in the real estate boom? Did they see it a year and a half ago when everybody like us was screaming at them there's inflation? And I don't know what this, and first there was no inflation, then it was transitory. So this is not something that they're good at. And obviously, it already has ended up in a disaster. I don't think we would have even considered locking down a highly leveraged economy if we didn't think in the back of our minds, I mean, those Einsteins, that there was MMT could bail us out and we could print our way out.
Here's the problem, Glenn, is that we don't have enough people who are protesting financial issues. A lot of social issues get protests and people up in arms. The problem with the financial issues is usually the people who understand them are busy trying to make money or run around and hide their assets so they don't get completely blown up. And the people who are organizing, they don't understand this because it's been made opaque on purpose. They don't want you to understand this. We need more people calling, protesting, showing up at the Fed. Back in the 70s, this is what happened. You had car dealers sending keys of cars they couldn't sell to the Fed. You had home builders sending lumber pallets. We need more people to get angry and to protest in a peaceful but forceful manner about financial issues.
I think you're right. Peaceful is critical, but I think they're doing a very good job at scaring people. Keeping you quiet.
Yeah.
Don't move or the FBI will be at your house. Don't move or you'll be on a list. I mean, that sounds pretty totalitarian to me.